Okay, let's get this started. My name is Brendan, and this is a video that I'm making to be able to help document a UFO sighting, a CE5 sighting, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, human-initiated contact. And this event happened in partnership with my partner, my girlfriend, Lacey, and I'll be getting into more of the details, but just as a quick overview of why I'm making this video and as well as a little bit more about the event. This event happened on the evening of July 24th over the period of from about 11:30 onwards. And this happened up in cottage country, up in Halliburton, specifically on Clear Lake, which is one of the many lakes on this area of the land. And long story short, this was something that took place as a result of us intentionally doing what we could to be able to help call in contact with these UFOs, or the OEUs, the other us's, as I'll be referring to them throughout this video, and I'll explain more about that. And the basic synopsis of the sighting, and I'll go more into the detail, was me sitting there meditating on the water, and then my girlfriend joining me, Lacey, and then eventually we saw a series of multiple blinking lights. And then within those blinking lights, there was a very prominent bright light, and this light flew horizontally towards our right, beyond our sight over the tree line. We saw it for, I would say, about 45 seconds to a minute, if not longer. And then following that, the initial sensations which occurred as a result of the sighting. So I have audio recording that was recorded after the initial sighting, and then additional audio recording the morning after, following a dream that Lacey has that relates to this sighting, which is in many ways a continuation of the discussion between ourselves and the OU. So I'm making this video because these contact experiences are incredibly important, and a lot of this was, of course, inspired by the work of Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, the CE5 documentary. I'll post a link down below for those of you who haven't seen it. I assume a lot of you who are watching this are already familiar with it, but again, nonetheless, I'll just kind of paint the bigger picture of why I'm making this video, why I'm documenting this, and with the intention of it being something to be able to help show people what is possible, something that could be replicated on their end, opening up their minds to a bigger picture of this reality and our place within it, and the relationship between ourselves and the OUs, the other us's, the pilots, the people within the UFOs, or the civilizations associated with them, because that is quite frankly what this is about. This is about building those relationships. And again, the basic idea is that these UFOs, they're not just as alien as we think they are, and in a lot of ways these are members of advanced civilizations, advanced consciously evolved civilizations that are here to be able to help assist with our own personal evolution, with our own shift in consciousness. In a lot of ways, it's quite fascinating to be able to observe and understand and think of them as being relatives or family in that context, and the fact that they are still consciousness, they are still us. So the intention behind making this video is, again, just to be able to provide documentation, to give people an understanding, for me to practice documenting it, recording it, to give people a little bit of insight into how they might be able to do the same as well. So as a little bit more context, I think it's important to understand that a lot of these UFOs, or these OUs, they're not necessarily literally just like flying from other planets. More so, they're kind of like phasing in from other dimensions. At least this is one way that I've come to be able to understand it. And in this context, there's still a lot of mystery involved there, involved with, like, where are they coming from? Where are these other dimensions? I'm quite fascinated by the idea that the dimensions that they are coming from are outside of our time. So maybe it's kind of like a form of time travel from them, where, this is our reality, this is their reality. There's kind of like a something in between, and they kind of like phase in, and then they pop back out. And so that's kind of what we experience, something kind of like phased in. And I'll explain this more as I get into it, but a big part of the experience wasn't just the initial sighting. It was the sensation, it was the feeling, it was the energy sensations, very much similar to what I can best refer to as like a Kundalini energy activation sensation. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go. So again, I think contact with these OUs, this is about building a relationship between ourselves and these other multidimensional beings to be able to help assist and accelerate the shift in consciousness. These experiences, they're very much akin to a psychedelic experience, and that's what can happen. People can have them, and it'll expand their minds. It'll expand their hearts. And so the reality is that this event was not something that was just, isolated to the weekend that we were there. This was something that I had been leading up to for weeks. I saw the initial CE5 documentary probably a couple months before that. We actually did a podcast with the community that I facilitate, Paradigm Shift Central, all about UFOs and the shift in consciousness, because I was really inspired by this, knowing that other people were doing the CE5 protocol to be able to help make contact, and the fact that these experiences were happening. At that point, after watching the documentary, I'm like, okay, this is possible, and if it can happen for other people, it can happen for me. Can it happen for me? That was kind of the question that I was moving into. And so once we kind of figured out that we were going camping, and that was, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks in advance, even longer than that, I guess, the intention was there. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, we're going up camping. Let's go see some UFOs. Let's go summon some UFOs. Let's go call in some UFOs. And fortunately, my partner, Lacey, she's very much attuned to this. She's very much in alignment with this. And in a lot of ways, this event was basically like calling us in, like it was like, it was almost kind of like a destiny that was moving us towards there. Things just kind of align, and lo and behold, it actually did happen, which is still incredibly mind-blowing in a lot of ways. Lacey has actually had many dreams. She's an incredibly vivid dreamer, incredibly beautiful, vivid person, and a beautiful dreamer. And a lot of dreams that she's had over the past, before we had even fully developed our relationship, included us summoning UFOs. And so the seeds were already planted. There's already a deeper level to the mystery there, which is incredibly fascinating. So leading up to the event, I'll do that, and then I'll kind of walk you through it, and then eventually I'll let you listen to the audio recording, and you can hear it in our voice. We didn't have any pictures or video of the event. We do have a drawing that Lacey drew based on what she saw, and I'll show you some images of the landscape during the day so you can get an idea. But quite frankly, just being able to hear the audio is incredibly powerful, because you can hear how real it is, and we're just like, oh, whoa, okay, this happened. So again, in addition to that, plus what I'm doing now, this is my form of being able to make what we can to be able to help properly document this in the best possible way that we can, so people such as you who are curious about this can be able to take part in this ongoing story and hopefully be inspired to be able to continue to pursue this topic of interest in a way that resonates with you. So leading up to us going camping, again, this was at Halliburton in Ontario, Canada. So this has actually been a place where even on the way up, we were Googling, and I still haven't fully researched this, but I know there's been a lot of sightings up in this area. There's very little light pollution, just a lot of beautiful, it's a Canadian Shield, incredibly wonderful nature in that area. And so leading up to the event, the intention was there for us to be able to, go camping and have a wonderful time, but hey, maybe we'll summon some UFOs while we're up there. And so being able to sit with that intention, and even being able to practice with CE5, even just on my balcony to a degree, just being open to the idea, and that basic protocol for those of you who aren't familiar. I apologize, because I know there's a lot of you who may be brand new to this, and maybe you've heard about me talk about it. The CE5 protocol, basically, and very simply put, is the process of you get into a meditative state, you get into a heart-mind coherence, and you drop into this state, and then you kind of project that intention, say hey, I'm calling out, I'm making contact. And you're not just projecting out, you're also kind of projecting inwards, because it's a very holographic connection. It's not literally just a distance thing. It's a quantum consciousness degree of communication. But it literally is as simple as being able to kind of pick up a phone and call a friend in that sense, opposed to summoning, so to speak. And then what you do, again, based on the CE5 protocol, for those of you who are curious, basically what you can do is you kind of visualize your coordinates. So you almost imagine kind of Google Map kind of zooming in to where you are, to be able to provide a location and again, a coordinates to the OUs, the other us's. And then from there, you just kind of patiently wait. You kind of stay in that place of humility. You kind of communicate through your heart, through your mind, and sometimes they show up. and sometimes they don't. And so again, just as context, using the term OU was something that I started using even before this event happened. But for me, it really begins to shift the focus from just referring to them as UFOs and thinking it from the perspective of like, oh, this material object, to OUs, other us's, understanding that it's about the relationship between ourselves and the consciousness. And maybe there's one person in that craft, maybe it's a crew, maybe it's a collective. But being able to refer to them as OUs, I think is incredibly important for being able to develop that relationship. And that's essentially what it is that I'm quite fascinated by. And as a result, you know, the fact that this event happened, it has led me to make this video, which has led me to continue this discussion, which has led me to be, in a sense, almost a form of an ambassador for the experience that had happened, to be able to help create sacred space for more people to be able to share their experience. Because the fact is, these experiences are continuing to increase. People have been having them over the years. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of stigma associated with it. And I think as a community, it's our responsibility to be able to hold space for being able to explore the mystery and approach it in a relationship where, in a lot of ways, it's like a student and a teacher. And so how as we as students continue to be able to show up to learn from this relationship, from these beings, be it both within this dimension through sightings, direct sightings, and also through the dream space. And again, long story short, for those of you who may be new to this concept, the OUs, the UFOs, the aliens, the phenomena, all of that, from my experience and again, from my best guesses, and that's all I can really do is share with you, you know, my experience and my intuition and my best guesses based on dots I've connected over the years. These OUs, they have the ability to be able to connect with us in dream space. And so just understanding that that's another part of the relationship. It's not always just about the sighting. It's about the ongoing ways in which we can communicate with them. And even now, in a lot of ways, you know, after the event, once I kind of got home and just kind of looking up at the stars, not so much like looking out to the stars as if I'm like literally just kind of like thinking, oh, there they are. But literally looking up to the stars and seeing it as a reflection of the universes within me, and feeling this connection, feeling this presence, feeling this relationship is incredibly powerful. And again, for me to be able to continue to move into that space where I can reflect and be like, well, what can I do? How can I show up? Because again, I think there's a future that we're moving into, and the OU phenomena is going to be quite central to it. And I don't know exactly all the details yet, but it's something that I feel called to, and it's something that I feel a lot of us feel called to. And again, you know, I feel that not just my experience, but other experiences are leading us towards this idea that these OUs are interested in our spiritual and conscious evolution. They are here to be able to help assist us because perhaps in some way our growth affects them. Perhaps there's a ripple effect there. So again, you know, just talking a little bit more about the details leading up to the event. One thing in particular was slightly before, the week before we went up there to the cottage, I saw a video of someone using a green laser pointer, and they were interacting with a UFO. And the UFO actually responded to the laser pointer, kind of like moved around and flew back the other way. And I was like, oh, that's incredibly fascinating. So literally a week before the trip, we actually, both of us were like, oh, we gotta get laser pointer. So I did. I got a green laser pointer, and that was actually incredibly helpful once we were up there, because it was able, you know, we could point at things, and she could say, you know, I'm looking over here, and you point a laser pointer, you know exactly where they're pointing. And it was also good for just being able to identify even just like satellites, etc. So getting that laser pointer was part of the story, and perhaps it made a difference, perhaps it didn't, perhaps it would have happened either way, I don't know, but I'm glad that I got that laser pointer. And so just as a little bit more context relative to my own relationship to this topic, I've had a UFO sighting back in 2011. It was quite different. It was with a partner, again at the time, a different partner, and basically like a triangle craft decloaked over top of us. But it was quite different from this experience. There was no direct intention with that one. It almost just seemed coincidental that I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, but it still obviously opened me up to the idea that there's a truth to this phenomenon, and it continued to move me forward. And flash forward, and here we are, you know, talking about it even more. And so another thing that was incredibly cool relative to the event is that our sighting, our event, actually happened on, again, I mentioned the evening of July 24th through the period into July 25th. I didn't realize this till afterwards, but July 25th is actually an incredibly relevant, incredibly important date. The July 25th is basically the Mayan New Year, and they refer to this as the day out of time. So this is a very sacred day. So again, the fact that the sighting happened literally on that day is incredibly just like adds like another level of just like beautiful detail and synchronicity, and that's what it felt like. It felt like this experience for both of us was this incredible gift that we received. And I'll talk again, I appreciate you guys listening. This is going to be a long video, but I just want to be able to make sure that I'm explaining even the little details to the best of my ability as we move through this journey together by me sharing this story. So moving towards the day of the event, it happened on the first day that we arrived up at the land, up on this little cottage. And on the car ride up, we were literally talking about this. Like we were literally like, you know, like talking about UFO things, and we were talking about all sorts of interdimensional, multidimensional things we usually do. And so again, you know, we were literally like, just like the intention was there, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's, you know, I got the laser pointer like 100%. Like I didn't know what to expect, but I felt called to give it a shot. And so around 7 o'clock, give or take, we arrived onto the land, and we got things settled and got things unpacked, and we were at the cottage, and again, it was just a nice, beautiful little cabin on the lake. And I'll insert some pictures here so you can kind of like see what the vision was like. It was a very quiet place. We didn't have anyone nearby us for quite some distance, so there was a lot of solitude there. And that night, once we got everything settled, the sun began to set, and at about 11 o'clock was when I first went out to begin meditating on the dock. So that's when it began. That's when the process started. So again, I sat out there on the dock by myself. Lacey, she was just doing some things in the cabin at the time and was planning on joining me later. But I told her, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to go out there by myself. At this point, the moon was still up. And so I was sitting there on the dock and literally just kind of playing with the laser pointer. It was my first time getting to use it in this type of setting. And it was, you know, really cool just to be able to shine it around. And I was keeping my eye open for satellites, and in the midst of not just looking for satellites, I was closing my eyes and I was meditating and I was setting that intention, and I was just like communicating where we are. Like the fact that the place we were on was literally called Clear Lake, which maybe adds another level to the synchronicity. Clear, lucid lake almost. And so I was kind of giving them those coordinates, setting that intention, and yeah, just holding space for that, and knowing that sometimes the meditation process, you almost want to spend almost like a half hour. Stephen Greer even talks about this, kind of like just dropping into that space. So that's what I was doing, and fortunately meditation has been something that I practice quite a bit, so I was familiar with kind of getting into that space, and just kind of opened my eyes, looking around, wasn't really expecting to see anything, and saw a few satellites, and that was it. You know, just a beautiful scenery, a beautiful setting, and incredibly gifted to be able to be there. So after the moon set, which was about 11:30 on that evening, that's when Lacey came out and she joined me on the dock, and we were sitting there next to each other, all like bundled up and cozy, and we just kind of like sat there and meditated. And she was also like meditating and just kind of like focusing on that intention. You'll hear both of us, you'll hear her talk about this again within the audio, which I'm leading up to. I want you to be able to get like the full experience of being able to listen to it within the context. And so she was doing the CE5 protocol, kind of giving the coordinates and inviting in this contact, inviting in this presence. And so here we go. As we were sitting there, literally probably about 15 minutes after she got there, what I did is I positioned myself. I was originally sitting next to her, and eventually I decided to position myself just kind of like behind her so that her back was against my chest. Whether or not this ended up making a difference, I don't know. But even when she was sitting there, I was kind of like doing like mantras, like ohms, like tones, and just kind of like doing that. I've done this before. And both of us just kind of like sending out this loving intention and just being like, yes, we're here. Like we're open. We see you. We know, like we're with you type thing. And as we were sitting there, and I can feel like the tingles, the energy sensations even coming back as I'm talking about this because it was so visceral. What happened was we began seeing little satellites, and those are obvious, but we started seeing blinks. And so there was like one blink right in front of us, and then there was like another blink off to the side, and then like another blink somewhere else. And we were like, whoa, like, did you see that? Like, whoa, like, what was that? Right? And then we kind of like try and like, we're shining the laser pointer in the general direction. And then literally within like a minute of these kind of like spaced out blinks just kind of happening, more blinks started to appear to our right at about I would say about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock from off the deck from where we were. And these blinks kind of began to position themselves almost kind of like in a specific quadrant, almost kind of not like in a circle, but they were kind of clustered. And then in the middle of these blinks, a light began to appear, and the blinks were kind of like white, and to the best of my knowledge, this is what I remember. But this other light, it had more of like a gold color to it. And so this light appeared in the middle, and based on kind of like what Lacey and I talked about afterwards, she said that what she could tell was that the light was actually basically like descending. So not necessarily like moving like vertical from our perception, but like moving closer. So as if it was kind of like coming in from orbit. So it kind of like phased in, and then it kind of came in from orbit. And then as soon as that started happening, both of us were like, you know, she's like, Brendan, like, that's it. This is it. And I was like, oh, geez, like, Lacey, it's happening. Like, oh my goodness. And we're just kind of like sitting there. At this point, I don't think she was using the laser pointer. Like, she just like, you know, we weren't going to like shine the laser pointer right at it. But we were very much in our heart space, very much in just like this place of just like feeling this like immense energy, and just like, oh my God, you know, it's very much like becoming lucid in a dream. And so this light arrived, and I don't remember exactly what happened to the other blinks. I think the other blinks probably just disappeared. And then the light began to move horizontally towards our right, and was moving at a consistent speed, and eventually just kind of like made its way. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we saw it for about 45 seconds, and then it moved over the tree line. So we couldn't really see it. Got to a certain point where it wasn't something fully within our range of sight. But as we were sitting there, she was just like even like I literally communicated. I was like, hey, you know, like, we're a little like, this is pretty intense right now. Like, just letting you know that like, if you can kind of do something to help us, you know, feel as comfortable as possible, please feel free. This is something they actually talk about in CE5, where again, it's like a telepathic and telepathy, like empathetic, like an empathy related communication, where you're communicating with your heart. And so, yeah, just flash forwarding, because I want to be able to get right into the audio very soon. We went up to the dock. We went up to the cabin, kind of on the porch area, and we couldn't see the UFO anymore. It kind of like gone over. Again, we could see it for about like a minute. And my body was shaking. Like my body was like literally shaking. This happens sometimes when I get like kind of like really excited about things. But it was just kind of like, whoa. And it was kind of, obviously it was kind of like an adrenaline rush, at the same time. So, after that, we went inside the cabin, and we continued to talk about it. And we were just like, oh my goodness, like this, like what is happening? Like, you know, like this actually happened, like, holy crap. And it literally only took like 15 minutes, like after we had sat down. So the fact that like it happened, and it happened so fast, was incredibly amazing, incredibly just like we were blown away by the fact that this has happened. And Lacey had some UFO sightings in the past, but nothing since she was a young child. And so this was the first UFO sighting that either of us had in quite some time. But again, the fact that it was intentional, the fact that this was literally CE5 protocol happening, and we experienced it. It clearly was not a satellite. It clearly was not a plane. And the very interesting thing is that Lacey, who I think she actually has like maybe better sight than me, or at least even in that moment, she was just kind of more dialed in on the detail. She said, and to me it just kind of looked like a light. I couldn't see the detail on it, but she said that she could see kind of like the center part to the craft, and then what she referred to as like oscillating energy around the side. And this oscillating energy, kind of like, you know, like waves, And she said, like, it almost kind of looked like an angel. Like, not saying it was an angel, but she said it kind of looked like what we would almost think of as an angel, where it's kind of like this central figure and then kind of like these like oscillating vibrations of light around the outside of it. And so she said that, you know, like it was close. Like it was close. Like, I don't know, I want to say maybe, I don't know, like less than 300 meters, give or take, but close enough for her to be able to see the detail of the craft. And of course she drew a picture of that. So if I haven't already yet, I'll insert a picture of this so you can see this. And of course with these crafts, you know, based on my own awareness and knowledge, a lot of these crafts are like conscious themselves. They're what can almost be like, whether it was like a Merkaba or not, I don't fully know, but it was literally like a light ship in some form. Again, the Merkaba being like the light body vehicle, like those of you familiar with that. But yeah, it was incredibly visceral, incredibly amazing. And then the experience that happened after that was the sensations through our body. And this is where we were kind of talking about it, and both of us were talking, we're just like, it feels like, you know, was coming up on psychedelics, coming up on LSD or mushrooms or something like that. And it was just this wave of energy that was kind of moving through us. And even though I don't know if we talked about this in the audio recording, but we kind of talked about it afterwards, and it almost kind of felt like, even though we couldn't see the UFO, it felt as if its presence was still there. And that was kind of like this feeling where like we're standing in the cabin, we're like, I don't think it's gone. Like I think it's like still around. And it almost kind of felt as if it was like showering us with love, showering us with like some sort of energy, some sort of vibration, some sort of frequency, as if, you know, it was intentionally there, just kind of like sending us love in the same way, you know, you'd almost kind of like send like Reiki to someone else. That's kind of what it felt like. But yeah, we felt these sensations, and felt like almost like, again, like Kundalini. It felt just like pure love, as if like this being was literally just kind of like just bathing us in this cosmic love. It was incredibly profound. It's hard to really be able to explain it to much else. Other than, again, you know, just like profound experiences of psychedelics and, you know, like, and obviously like making love and things like that. It was literally on that part, the experience. And these sensations literally continued for quite some time, for like hours after the experience, until we eventually went to sleep. So at this point, I'm going to let you listen to the audio. This is about, I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes long, and it's literally recorded. Me and Lacey were talking about it for a bit, and then I'm, you know, take out my phone. I'm like, okay, let's record this, just get audio, and you can hear it in our voice. So a lot of it's going to kind of be like a recap of what I already shared, but hopefully this will just give you even more details so that you can almost kind of like visualize this experience. Even maybe this will activate something inside of you. Maybe you'll feel something inside of you. But yeah, like that's what this experience felt like. And we kind of talked about that, is that it feels like it, you know, it almost like activated something inside of us, whatever that means to you. I'm incredibly grateful, and I'm still continuing to kind of like unpack and process this. Flash forward just a little bit. We did try contact again on the next night. Nothing happened, and we were quite content with that, because we were like, yeah, you know what, that first night, that was like a lot to unpack. So that's okay. But in case you're just kind of curious, yeah, so like that night, that was the main night. And then the other night, we just kind of like chilled out and stuff like that. But obviously the experience is continuing to ripple forward, because here we are again, you know, talking about it, sharing it, and I'll let you listen to the audio recording so that you can experience just being able to hear us talk about it for yourself. Listen to it listen to our voices and just hear it within our voice. And after that, we'll come back, and I'll set things up, and then I'll let you listen to the audio recording of Lacey talking about the dream that she had the morning after. Enjoy. I'm just recording audio right now, but yeah, okay, quick recap. Okay, so like on the deck, I meditated for 30 minutes, set out intention. We went out there, sat out there with the laser.
And then I set an intention. I like did what you told me to do. And I sat there and I kept chanting inside my head, we're at Clear Lake. And then I pictured myself from like above, like way above me, like looking down on myself. And then I started using the laser, and then you were like using the laser, and we were just kind of playing with it, following satellites.
When we saw satellites, we saw like
but they were really, really far.
Super far away, little tiny dots.
far
And
into
then we
this
started seeing blinks
blinks, but then it was like
in a quadrant.
And then there was like one here and then one there, and then they all started like blinking in
And then there was
unison.
like multiple blinks, like blink, blink, blink,
blink,
blink,
blink, blink, and then it appeared, and it was like
and that one like
glowing.
wasn't there before, right? Like it like
no,
appeared.
no, and
like,
it was low, Brendan. It was way lower and brighter than the rest, and it fucking moved down.
And then it started moving.
It went up, moved down.
So did you see it change direction? Like, did you see it move down and then up?
Mm-hmm. It did.
Yeah.
It was subtle. It was subtle, but it did move. And it got lower and went into the tree line.
Yeah. And then like literally just kind of like continued to travel over us. And then we tried going to see if we could see it from another vantage point. And that's where
it disappeared into the trees.
Yeah.
And we tried to communicate with it once it was above the trees.
And you said the shape of it, you said it looked like an angel.
Yeah, like it had like this like auric field around it. I have really good eyesight.
I think you saw it more than I could.
Yeah. You didn't see that?
I mean, I saw the light, but I couldn't identify the shape specifically. Like and that could have been like the shape of a craft or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been like just like the energy that was around it. I don't know.
And how were we feeling? Like my body started shaking.
Yeah, you started to shake.
I was like physically shaking.
You started to like shake.
It was like an energetic shake.
Like energetically, I was just like trying to put out this positivity and love and like thanking it for coming, because I don't know, like I've never experienced like where you summon a UFO. I've never done that before.
Right, and that happened pretty quick too.
That didn't take very long. We just went out there and it took like 20 minutes.
And maybe me sitting out there for 30 minutes ahead of time by myself meditating could have done something.
I don't know. It happened when I came out, which I gotta say, us together.
But that's what I'm saying. Us together, and that's what I was saying. Like literally, like the summoning UFOs to CE5 happens with groups.
Yeah.
And specifically, it happens with when two people are in love. And
you said that.
I literally said that. So I'm like, okay, like I prime things.
And then you came and you sat behind me.
And I sat behind you, and then we started breathing together.
Yeah.
The breathing together could have been a part of like the ingredients or something like that.
Like we laid back and we just like breathed together.
Whoa. And then we came inside, and now we're sitting here, and now we're recapping so that we can basically record this as if it was like a dream log.
Because that was crazy. I feel like I'm like on drugs or something.
Right now. Like
I still feel. Do you
like
feel high?
like I'm
like not on anything.
Like I feel like I'm dreaming right now.
Yeah, it's very trippy.
And now what are we gonna do? I feel like I almost want to just sit up there, just kind of like chill out, but I'm not expecting anything.
I just don't want to like force it, because we are here for another 2 nights, and I want to be like, that was like an invitation, and that was like a really positive one, and I just want to do it very gently. You know what I mean?
But we could literally sit out there, literally with the intention of not summoning, but just kind of like be there.
If you want to sit out there, you can.
But yeah, but still, like those blinking lights, like that
was crazy.
Like, because we both of us were like, because I think I was the first one when I said, "Yo, I saw a blinking light."
Yeah, and
it was like straight ahead, and then it was to our right, and then
it was like all over the sky. There was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, it was like blink, 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 and then that one appeared.
Yeah, it appeared.
Like it wasn't there before.
No, it wasn't, Brendan.
Like it didn't like come from somewhere and then start moving. Like it literally appeared, and then it started moving.
And then it moved.
And you said it kind of like moved up and down.
I can't believe you just saw that. Dude.
Yo, we saw that.
That was crazy.
That was definitely not a satellite.
No, it was not a satellite. It was way too low to be a satellite. The satellites are like way up in the upper atmosphere.
Yeah, and they're like little dots, because we saw
that.
Like I saw 2 satellites.
It wasn't
before
a satellite.
Out. We saw 2 satellites.
It was a glowing ball, but it wasn't like super glowy. It was like it was bright.
Yeah.
And it was moving.
Yeah.
It moved weird. That was so weird. I wasn't expecting that. I just was like, oh, let's just like, I mean, I set the intention too, but like I wasn't like. And
man, like because I mean, this is our first time like up together on a land like this, like up north.
Yeah, we're up north. Like. And like in the middle of the bush right now.
And even like, like over the years we've got to know each other, I was always like, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there will probably be a time where we'll see a UFO. And it just happened.
I know.
Like it literally just happened.
Like what?
What?
And I've had dreams of this like exact moment.
Because you even said like, yo, this is like deja vu.
Yeah, like this is familiar to me. Like we've done this before. Like.
So what do we do now?
I don't know.
We should almost just like kind of like go to sleep. Access dream time
and like set that intention for tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a bigger,
maybe tomorrow can be like more blanks.
More blinks,
Yeah.
maybe more orbs.
Yeah.
Bigger ones.
Like my energy body is like still like I'm still
Heightened.
like, yeah, like I'm still like tingling right now.
Yeah, me
like almost as if
too.
it's like a full body orgasm.
Yeah, like I feel like my pupils like dilated when it started
Like
happening.
my
What is happening?
yeah, it's like this is happening. This is happening.
Is this actually happening?
This is happening.
Holy shit, that was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I feel fucked up right now.
Oh my god. Okay, let's just chill out. Okay, anything else for the recording?
I don't know what to say other than
That was it.
fucking
That was
crazy,
amazing.
yo.
That
like,
happens. All right, that's one for the records.
we'll have to
stand
let
by.
you know what
Yeah.
happens tomorrow night.
Chronicling the ongoing journey. But yeah, intentions was such an important thing.
It was huge, yeah.
It was such an important thing. So,
Yeah.
whoa. Good
That was
job, team.
crazy.
Thank you
Thank
to our
you.
friends.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw them as. We were like, hello.
Yeah. We just like
And
really
that's what it
just,
felt
said,
like.
Thank you for being
that
here.
felt like a gift.
Yeah, like it felt really, really like deeply loving. Like that was
Yeah. Like it,
really
like you could
beautiful.
tell like there was like a form of communication. They were like blink, blink, blink,
They were
blink,
talking
blink,
to us,
blink,
yeah.
blink, and then it was like
Like,
blink,
oh, hey.
blink, and then it moved.
And then it moved and flew for a bit
Yeah.
across our like vision
Holy shit,
up
that
into the tree
happens.
line.
Whoa.
I'm excited to try more tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like part of me is like, oh, I'll go back out, but I'm like in this
I
weird
know,
place
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Like
And
heightened.
And we even like, and even as it was happening, I kind of said that where I was like, hey, you know, like right now we're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Please feel free to just kind of like keep it chill or whatever.
Be gentle with us.
Be gentle with us. Like,
yeah.
And that's coming from directions of other stuff we've heard where it's like, yeah, you can do that.
You can communicate with them and like.
And so what was them? Like, man, like that thing like phased in from another dimension, man.
It did. It came to us. It totally just came to us.
It was probably us.
Sorry.
in our little UFO flying around.
In the future.
Like who was that? Who was in that?
I don't know, but it was beautiful. It was a really beautiful looking ship thing.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever it was.
Try
made of
drawing
light.
it maybe. Like sketch just like some sort of basic shape.
I can.
Yeah.
Could do that.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop the video recording now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, deep breaths.
So there you go. Thank you again for listening to that. I hope that gives you a better understanding of the experience. And thank you for watching this. I know this is a long video. Literally, it's just like us having a conversation here. But obviously, if you're here, this is something you're interested in. So I appreciate your presence and attention. It feels like you're literally just sitting across from me right now. And so after we had that conversation, we just kind of like hung around in bed. The nighttime was interesting, you know, because there was just kind of like we're still out there, we're still in like this pitch black. Even just like going out in the middle of the night and going to the bathroom, I just had to make sure I didn't like let my thoughts just kind of like go, you know, too out there and things like that. I'm just like, all right, I'm just going out here, go to the bathroom, come back in, opposed to like going out there and trying to like look in the tree line and stuff like that. But again, there was this like very peculiar sensation, and I think it was just because it was unknown, you know. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, you know, you kind of let your imagination run with you. But anyways, my sleep was good. I didn't have anything super relative to what we experienced, but Lacey did have an incredibly detailed dream, and again, just as a quick summary, the one thing I'll know, and then I'll let you listen to it, because we got to sleep probably about like 1 a.m. or so after that, and slept for a while, and woke up probably at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I don't know. But one of the things that's interesting is that the experience that she had, it began by her like in the location of the cabin, like on the property, and she met this other being, and then this being proceeded to show her more. So without needing to say anything else, I'll let Lacey explain it for herself through the recording of her dream log. So here you go.
Okay, recording audio post last night's experience, waking up. Some form of contact has continued through dream space, which was partly anticipated. Further details from last night include very noticeable Kundalini type energy sensations. Both of us were feeling waves and waves of almost bliss orgasmic like energy moving through our body, which was originally initiated upon first sighting of like did you feel it when the light started blinking, or when the main craft started appearing?
The main craft. That's when it suddenly, like, something inside of me, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I didn't realize at first that it was like this Kundalini energy until we lost sight of it, and then we tried to follow it a bit, but it was hard to see because we're in a very like wooded, like very thick forest.
Yeah.
So, and then we came back to the cabin and we're talking about it, and that's when I noticed that it started to get more so, like it started to get like,
and that's where we have this
growing.
idea that we feel like it was actually like sticking around,
and that we thought that maybe the OU,
the other us's,
was like still nearby, and it was still trying to communicate with us. At least that's like how I feel.
It was almost as if it was like showering us in energy or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was like as I laid here and had my eyes shut, like I couldn't like help but like breathe like super heavy. Like it was just like whoa, like this, like whoa, I can't even explain it. It just came up and would go up inside my brain, and I was like, and then down, and then yeah, like I said, I like when my eyes shut, I could see energetically the thing like high above the cabin, like it was still around. And then you can say how you know, I mean, throughout the night there was,
both of us were feeling a presence throughout the night.
Yeah, like there was something that it made contact with us, like wasn't fully like, but there was some strange sounds in the night.
Sounds that seemed unusual for animal. It happened about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And then there was nothing after that. But there's almost like a sound of like, I don't know, like it sounded like I heard it to the right of the cabin.
I heard it, yeah, over there.
It was over there. And like, what's over there? You know, like there's no people over there.
No, it's just the forest.
It's just forest. But it sounded like it wasn't just like sticks cracking. Like it almost sounded as if it was like someone like knocking on a tree or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Or like they were like trying to like make a noise.
No, that's exactly. It felt like they were trying to like get our attention.
Yeah.
That's what that sounded like last night. That's why I was like, why is this like
chills?
Why does it seem intentional if it's an animal? And then of course I just like didn't want to pay.
We didn't want to focus
too much on that because, you know, we were already in this heightened state and we didn't want to like
do anything,
and neither of us
said anything about it to
we
each
didn't
other.
talk to tell each other because I think we're both kind of like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then of course I had
your dream.
I had a
very vivid dream.
A crazy vivid dream. That was direct contact with a being.
That appeared outside of the cabin. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So in the dream, I was in this cabin and I heard someone approaching the cabin, similar to, I guess, the fact that we heard sounds last night. And then I went out the front door and walked up, because there's a bit of a hill there, and walked up towards this, all I can say is a masculine energy. That's the vibe that I got. I couldn't see its face. It was concealed to me. It almost looked like there was like someone had erased it.
Yeah, like a distortion field.
A distortion field around its body and face. It didn't speak to me. I'm getting like chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It didn't speak to
me
verbally, but as soon as I walked up to it, like I didn't feel any fear or anything, which to me is interesting because normally if there's like a strange man coming towards your cabin, you're going to be like, this is weird. Yeah. But the energy was like familiar. And so I stood there and suddenly I lost time. I was transported to the middle of the forest where I walked down a narrow pathway, like forest trail, towards the end where there was a ship, but it was embedded in the ground, and there was many different parts of the ship. It
was very ancient, like a relic.
It was like an ancient relic, and then there was like the main part of the ship had a cockpit, and the only way to describe it is like that the outside looked like it was stone, like the color of stone. It was very sharp edges. It was very geometric in a lot of ways, like the surface of the craft. And then and it was like upright. And each section of it was embedded in the forest floor. I approached the front cockpit and I could see down inside of it. It obviously went deep into the ground, and then it was quite large, so it was like bigger than a car, like the main cockpit. And then I saw some type of writing on the side, and there was like a type of marker, like paint, like a pigmentation, different colors that were on the side of the cockpit as well. And then they were all different shaped. Like there was
Big one in
some
the middle, small
big one in
ones
the
around the
middle,
edge.
and then there was 4 small ones. Is it 4? 4 small ones, and then 2 larger, pointier ones. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And then I was there, and then I transported again to the middle of a lake, and I was floating there, and in the distance I saw a cliff, like this like rock, massive red rock that was like deep in the water, jutting out of the water. And then suddenly a light appeared on it, and then another one, and then another one. And there was 3 of them, and they were pulsating, like they were pulsating light towards me. It looked like a triangle, but it was quite far in the distance. But to me, it looked like a triangle. Like, you know, I wish I could, as I try to say it to the...
Yeah.
And then I transported again to the edge of shore, the sandbar, and I was upright, standing, fully naked, and confused at where I was. Looked around to see where the rock was, the red rock, but it was no longer there. I felt like there was something, I can't even put it into words, but there was something there, and I've lost a lot of like whether or not there was a conversation, or like whether or not there was another being there. I honestly don't know, but there was someone there, something. And then I walked off to the forest, like the forest line, and then like kind of went into like pine trees, like the forest. And that's all I remember. I remember waking up and hearing weird sounds at that point.
Yeah, and we were kind of interpreting the idea of like almost kind of like missing segments of the dream that could still have happened, but the memories were just kind of like temporarily like not erased, but just like not consciously accessible, but still subconsciously present.
Yeah. So I guess we'll find out more tonight.
Yeah, and
We're
so
gonna try to make contact again, I guess.
we are question mark? Is that if you want to? I mean,
I don't know. Yeah,
I know, right?
It was quite intense.
But our kind of relationship that we're working on developing, because that's what it feels like. It feels like we're developing a relationship, and we're kind of interpreting this again. That's where we came up with the term OUs, other us's, to be able to create context, and also to be able to see it as like kind of like a student-teacher relationship. And even just us recording this is in theme with us just trying to be good students, to be able to remember what we can and interpret this the best way we can. And yeah, developing like some kind of relationship that is still very mysterious to us at this point.
Yeah.
But obviously listening to our intuition and just kind of like following the love. So if we feel that like the love is kind of like inviting us, then we'll kind of listen to it from that end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was very powerful.
Yeah, like still looking back on last night, like it's hard to like it's still very visceral.
Yeah, like,
seeing like the blinks
happened.
In the sky, like we were sitting
blinks
there,
and then the fucking orb
and we were sitting there, and it was like blink. I saw it, like I was the first one to see a blink, and then more blinks started appearing, and then more and more.
There were so many, and that's when I was like,
and then we were just like, I think it's happening. Is this happening?
And then that's when the fucking thing appeared. Whoa.
And again, we interpreted that like you explained. This wasn't in the original audio, but you said it almost kind of like Like it kind of like moved up and down, but then it almost like descended closer to us, like
Yeah,
it
it
moved
came
in,
towards
like it moved
us,
in.
and I could see inside of it.
And you said you could like in quote unquote inside, but you could see
I could
the
see
shape, and
the
then we
shape
drew that
and the energy. Like I just saw like
oscillating
the
energy,
oscillating energy that was within this
light vehicle.
It almost looked like an angel or like a fairy. Like
And
that's a good way
yeah,
of explaining it. Like
yeah,
just like,
giant, like
but very
almost
big.
technological light fairy.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were also saying, you know, like could that have been like a Merkaba,
Yeah.
like a Merkaba light ship or something like that?
Yeah, I'm very curious to dive deeper
wasn't
with
a
it.
wasn't a Void Hawk.
No,
But,
it wasn't a Void Hawk.
but it was something, that's for sure. And then and then again it kind of like flew through the angle of it kind of put the tree line between us and it, which basically like prevented us from chasing it into the woods, because God knows we would have.
I know, like we're kind of in this very like it's like very rocky, hilly forest terrain.
There's not much place to actually be able to chase something into
like,
the woods.
Yeah.
Which was probably like for our better, man. They
I
probably
know.
like position themselves. They're just like, here's a quick peek, and then but then like you said, we went in the cabin and the energy sensations were just like constant.
Yeah, for a while.
And,
like
it went for quite a while.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. So like I was like, what the hell? Like I feel
what we said, it was like almost like kind of like coming up on LSD.
It's very similar to that. Yeah, just the scent, like the waves, these waves of like pleasure. Blissful.
So just finishing up the audio recording for this part. Continued intention, go to the wolf sanctuary today, but then keep our hearts open, and I guess we'll continue with something later tonight.
Have you been down there?
Since last night?
Yeah.
No, not fully. Other than just
Huh.
But yeah, okay. Anything else for the recording at the moment?
No, that's it.
That's all for now.
That's all for now.
Okay.
So I hope that gives you, again, just more to be able to think about, to see. And I think it's incredibly fascinating that she had this dream. Like the fact that she had this dream is in some ways equally as profound as the actual sighting. And obviously the messages there, they're kind of mysterious, kind of symbolic. We're still trying to interpret it, and we kind of got this idea that like these beings, as if they were kind of like showing us that they had been here, that maybe they existed in this territory, perhaps in our past, or perhaps in a parallel dimension within that same physical space. Don't exactly know for sure yet, but the fact that the relationship was continuing to build was incredibly fascinating, and for me it really encourages and inspires me to continue to focus and record my dream practices, knowing that this is a place where these relationships are continuing to build between us and these OUs. And so it was really interesting because, again, and with the experience, having these energy, these activation sensations, again, it felt like there was like something inside of us that was being activated. That may just be a crazy idea. I don't really know. But maybe we're constantly being activated. Maybe activation is a process of remembrance. Maybe activation is a process of being able to attune ourselves more with our destiny, more with our intuition, more with our natural telepathic abilities, so to speak. So that's something that I'll continue to just kind of like be open to. But undeniably, that event changed me. It changed me in being able to change the way that I now relate to this story. Being so intimately involved with it, and being a person who has positioned themselves as a leader within conscious community, this is something that I carry with the utmost respect, humility, and responsibility to do what I can to be able to help bring this content and this message to more people, to invite them to be a part of the ongoing story. And again, I hope even just by me letting you know that this is possible, maybe it will activate something inside of you, and at the very least, maybe it's simply activating a bigger understanding of what is possible for all of us. So moving into the conclusion of this video, basically the weekend went on, we continued to talk about it, just constantly kind of going back. We're like, oh my goodness, that happened. Like what incredibly amazing, so profound. And again, just knowing that like we're the type of people where when we come home and we start posting on social media, hey guys, we like summoned a UFO, people are just like, I believe it. Like you too, you adorable cute couple, you psychedelic psychonaut, UFO summoning couple, of course you did, of course you did. And again, I knowing that I had a sighting with a partner in the past, I was kind of like, for me it was just kind of like even years, a while back, I was just like, oh, I can't wait until I have a sighting with Lacey, as if I knew that the potential was there, So one of the things with the CE5 that I didn't mention before is that the potential of it becomes amplified when people are within groups, and particularly also even if it's two people who are in love. So it was incredibly powerful for us to be able to experience and to be able to share this, and this is something that has brought us closer together. It's kind of like entered us into this part of our life where it's like, okay, we are officially in like a science fiction movie, but it's science reality, it's science truth. And now we're continuing to move forward with the possible reality that these sightings will continue to become more and more prevalent. And how can we hold space for others to be able to talk about this? Because more and more people are starting to come to share in this discussion. They're talking about sightings that they've had in the past. They're talking about their interest in wanting to be able to take part in future CE5 events, to be able to practice having these experiences themselves. And that's something that both Lacey and I are feeling called to. We have a group of friends here that we know are on that wavelength, and we're like, hey, okay, what would it take for us to get a group of people together and go outside the city and do some stargazing and do some CE5, some close encounters of the fifth kind, human initiated contact. And again, the purpose for that wouldn't purely just be for the sake of entertainment. It's for the experience. It's for the visceral experience that occurs when these events take place, which again can be incredibly transformative. Again, very like psychedelic. And again, it's about being able to develop the relationship and being able to continue to observe the patterns. And so both Lacey and I, again, we're in this place where it's like dropping into that understanding of, what do we do with this knowledge? What do we do? How do we become ambassadors of it? How do we document it? How do we help, continue to just keep the conversation going and educate other people that this is something that they can actively take part in? Because, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming to the surface in the future related to UFOs, and it's important for us to be able to use discernment, to be able to identify, fear-based false narratives, and to really be able to understand that when we develop this personal relationship, it allows us to bypass like the narratives of like Pentagon and mainstream media, which might be kind of trying to put a spin on things. And through this story, this relationship that we're building is ultimately one that brings us back to empowerment, that brings us back to conscious awareness. So it'll be interesting to see what the next few years continue to hold. 2020 will officially be the year that, we're making contact on a collective scale. This is not just a fantasy. It's not just a myth anymore. This is incredibly real, and it's something that you too are able to experience as long as you continue to hold that space within your heart. So there's a big idea when it comes to UFOs, and instead of just thinking, oh, I need to see it to believe it, instead understand that you need to believe it to see it. So take that idea with you. So just as a bit of an epilogue, me and Lacey, we were driving home, continued to talk about it. Our weekend was incredibly wonderful. It brought us together in more ways than we could have imagined. We feel incredibly blessed. That's what it feels like. It feels like this sighting was a gift that now we are able to share with you, with the community. And once I got home, again, that's when I found out that I was like, oh my God, July 25th was a day at a time. Oh my God, we saw a UFO and had this experience on July 25th, day at a time. Like, whoa, seemed like so profound and everything like that. Flash forward a couple days, and I was just out doing some exercise in the park, and it was later in the evening, and I was just kind of listening to music. And as I was listening to music, it was actually the song Mothership by Aurora, which was a song we listened to on the way up, which correlates to these themes. Had these activation sensations kind of going, set the intention, even though I wasn't like fully like sit down meditating. And there was another sighting that I had that night. And long story short, it was at a distance, but it was like a kind of a similar color golden orb, and just kind of like floated across the horizon. I literally watched it for about 2 minutes. I actually got a little bit of video footage of it. I'll put video footage of it just into here, even though like the video footage is like blurry. It's not very good, but it's something. I wanted to see if it was possible for me to film it. And it wasn't a satellite, wasn't a plane, wasn't blinking, and it matched the speed of the object that we saw. And I don't know exactly for sure whether or not that full on was another sighting, because I didn't see it arrive. I looked and then it was there. So I don't know if it like phased in. I didn't see any blinks beforehand or anything like that. Coincidentally, I met another woman in a shop the day after, and I was like talking to her, and we got talking about UFOs because I was vibing. I knew that she was on the wavelength. She literally saw the exact same object from a different part of the city. Like, what are the odds of that? And she identified, and she's like, yeah, that was something different. That was something weird. After the sighting on July 25th, was that another sighting? Maybe. It definitely wasn't a satellite. It definitely wasn't a plane. And I was definitely getting the sensations ahead of time, but in the moment I was more just kind of like observing. It wasn't quite the same type of sensations. But at this point, I'm continuing to move forward with as a student-teacher relationship where I'm observing patterns. When I saw that UFO on the 28th, I was kind of like trying to meditate with it, just setting it good vibes and everything like that. And I'll keep my eyes open for them in the future, and I'll continue to hold space in the community for these ongoing discussions. And in conclusion, it's important for us to be able to document these experiences, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And if you have your own experiences, I encourage you to document them. I encourage you to share them in places where you feel safe to do so. Please feel free to leave a comment down below if perhaps the sighting that I had is something that maybe is similar to something you had, or even if you have your completely unique sighting as well. I think the more that we can kind of bring this information together, it can help us begin to see more of the bigger picture as we continue to develop this relationship and move into a future of harmony and an expansion of consciousness as we continue to awaken and kind of become more of who we are as multidimensional beings, as citizens of a galactic bigger family. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll continue to document my experience. I'll be posting more content, not just on YouTube, also on my TikTok. So if you aren't yet, be sure to follow me there. Doing what I can to be able to help educate people about this topic based on my own experience, based on what I know is possible, inviting them to be able to check out the CE5 documentary, and yeah, just inviting you to be able to keep your eyes open, keep your hearts open, keep your mind expanded. And if you feel called to be able to do this, I encourage you to watch the CE5 documentary, connect with the Discord communities for the CE5 project, for the CE5 community. And please feel free to let me know if you have any experiences, even from the past or the future. If you want to DM me, even on Instagram or anything like that, you're more than welcome to. And I really appreciate you taking the time for me to be able to convey this experience through this form of media as we continue to learn and grow together. So it's up to us to let people know what is possible and to invite them to be a part of that possibility. So the story continues through the love that we share. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep it shifty, and I'll see you in the future.